Okay, so like many communities, Fremont is the town that it seems like is always listed on the AP exam. They always talk about this town Fremont. It's a fake town. Even there's a Fremont in California, but this is a fake one. It doesn't. The Fremont in California doesn't actually do all these things. But anyway, they have a combined sewer system that collects sewage and stormwater. And stormwater runs into storm drains that connect the city's sanitary sewer system. Stormwater and sewage flow together to the Fremont Wastewater Treatment Plant. During a storm event, however, the combined volume of stormwater and sewage may exceed the plant's capacity, and the overflow bypasses the Fremont Water Treatment Plant. The untreated overflow just gets charged into the creek along with treated waste. Recently, parts of Fremont received 5 centimeters of rain in 60 minutes. The storm caused widespread flooding in the northeast section of town. Especially hard was the shops at Fremont Shopping Center. And then they give you this data that you need to calculate your answers. So this is going to be a math one, right? If they're giving you some data stuff, they're going to ask you for math. But the thing about a math FRQ is probably only about half of it. I would say like 4 to 6 points is actually is like knowing. It's just like a regular FRQ. So if you see an FRQ with math like that, don't immediately freak out and go, oh God, I'm really bad at math. You should be able to at least earn some points on an FRQ like that because a math FRQ has just regular information parts too. So not like all 10 points are all math. Okay. So this one says, identify 2 specific pollutants in stormwater runoff that degrade the quality of surface water. So can you think of any stormwater pollutants? I know we've talked about a few today, but anything that could be containing runoff that might cause problems. Yes, pesticides. Pesticides is a problem. We could talk about nitrogen, phosphorus. Yeah, sewage. What can I type? What else? We could talk about, like we could talk, how like oil gets on, how cars like can kind of like leak oil, and you see that in the parking lot. When you have like a lot of flooding, some of that oil could get onto the into the water. Same with like road salts. What else? You could have like feces from animals. Right? So there are lots and lots of things. Pathogens, right? We talked about that. That was like a huge, remember, that was like our first thing that we said was like the worst pollutant, or the most common worldwide. So these are all pollutants, and all it says is identify. So all you have to do is just identify them. 2 pollutants are, and that's all you have to do for this one. So you could just pick 2 of these and you'd be good. Now, okay, so now it wants us to do some math. It says calculate the volume of water in meters cubed that runs off the shops at Fremont parking lot after a 5 centimeter rainfall event. Assume all the water falling on the parking lot runs off. Okay, now, for a math problem, you have to show your work in order to get points. If you don't show your work, you don't get full points. So like, for example, on the key, this one says it's worth 2 points. 1 point for setting it up and 1 point for the correct answer. So if you don't set it up, if you don't show your work, you don't get any points. So it's really important that you show your work on these math ones. So what do we want to do? We want to talk about the water that falls off on a rainfall event. So it says the parking lot is 100 meters or 200 meters long by 100 meters wide. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to find the area of the parking lot. So we'll have to do 200 meters by 100 meters. And we should get like 1,000 meters cubed. Okay, so there's our area of our parking lot. Okay, then what we need to do is we need to take this 5 centimeters of rainfall and we need to convert that to meters, right? Because we can't use it the way it's at. So we'll have to do 5 centimeters, and we'll have to kind of do one of those like dimensional analysis kind of things. So we'll have to do like, let's see, 1 meter. I'm going to try and do this in a way that will make it easy for you to see. Okay, so you see how I have 5 centimeters, 100 centimeters. I'm kind of trying to do that dimensional analysis. So then we'll cross off the 2 centimeters. My pencil isn't working today, so I can't actually like, like write it, unfortunately. So I'm trying to do the best I can. So then we'll take 5 and we'll divide it by 100, right? And that'll give us 0.05 meters. Okay, I know I have all these text boxes here. Okay, so now, in order to get meters cubed, we'll take our meters squared and multiply that by our meters here, and that'll give us meters, 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 right, meters cubed. So 20,000 meters squared times, I'm going to use the little asterisk for the times, so when you see it, let's see what I did. I know it doesn't show you what I'm writing until I've like finished the text box. No, you don't get a calculator. Yeah, you don't get a calculator on the AP exam at all. And the good thing about not having a calculator, at least this is what I try and tell myself, is that they're going to give you numbers that are easy to work with. So you see how they showed it was 200 by 100. If they didn't give you a calculator, they would have done like 256 by 123 or something like that. But since they give you, since you're not allowed to use a calculator, they give you kind of numbers that at least work kind of easily together. But yeah, no, you don't get a calculator, which sucks. I don't know a better way to say it. So that would be this one you would get full points, right? Because we showed our work and then we had our correct answer right here. You can show your work in like sentence form, so you could go, the area of the parking lot is 200, and I multiply that by 100, which gave me 20,000. You could do it like that, but I think it's easier just to show the math than trying to like write it out in a sentence, because you gotta do the math really anyway to get the answer, so you might as well. So here we go. The next thing they say is calculate the volume of stormwater runoff in meters cubed generated in all of Fremont by the 5 centimeter rainfall event, and assume only impervious surfaces generate rainfall. So here's what they do. They told us in the beginning, remember that little box that they gave us of facts? They said that Fremont has an area of 10 kilometers squared. I'm just copying this from that little box, so we have that information that we need. Okay. I've got that. Let me see what else do we need. Oh, we've got our 5 centimeter rainfall, so we've got 0.05 meters. That's our amount of rainfall. Yeah, all these text boxes. I was just trying to move these words, and it just creates all these text boxes. So for this one, what they're going to want you to do is they're going to want you to switch these kilometers into meters. So let me try and use a pencil. It's going to be really messy, but it might make it easier to understand. So for this one, because we have kilometers squared, if you're really good at math, you can like do it all in one step. I am not. I know that I'm bad at math, so I kind of try and make kind of careful with my math. So we have 1 kilometer, and in 1 kilometer there's 1,000 meters. Okay. Now I still have to do this again, right? Because 1 kilometer. That's just going to cross off one of my kilometers, and I have so I'm going to have this again. Okay, so if you're really good, you can go, you know, a kilometer squared has this many meters. I'm not that good, so I just do it twice. I'd rather do it twice and get the right answer than do it once and screw it up and not. So I've got that, and then so I'm going to get like 10 million. I'm going to have 10 and then 6 zeros because I'll have the zeros for both sets of my thousands. Now, one thing I wanted to mention. Now, do you see how for this one we're going to probably need our answer from the previous section? Now, if we didn't know how to do the previous section, like part B, what you can do is you can make up an answer for part B. Okay? You know it's going to be wrong, but you can make it up. Then you take your fake answer from part B and you use that for part C. So for example, I don't know how to do part B. Make up a fake answer for part B, and I'm going to use that for part C. As long as you did it right, and the answer you get is the right answer using your fake answer from part B, they have to give you full credit on part C. Does that make sense? So that's kind of like a little cheat or like a little trick on the AP exam. Even if you don't know how to do one part, you can kind of like make a fake answer so you can use it on the next part if you need it for the next part. Otherwise, you know, then you couldn't do either part. So now what we're going to do is I'll go back to the text box because it's a little easier to understand. So I'm going to do my 10,000 meters squared, or 10 million, and I'm going to multiply that by my 0.05 meters to get, you know, meters cubed or whatever. So that's going to give me, I'll make sure I do it right. Okay. Now, okay. So now that was the entire Fremont. So now it says only impervious surfaces generate runoff. So one of the things they told us in that box was that impervious surfaces or surfaces, all these text boxes. I'll write that here. Are 20%. Okay, so we're going to have to take this 10 million and multiply it by 20%, which is just 0.2. Okay. And that's going to give us 100,000. You can do it this way, or sometimes when I have to do it by hand, I'll take my like 10 million, and I would just write this just to make it kind of easier to show you what I'm doing. I would take 10 million, and I would like do X, and then I would do like 20 over 100, and you could cross multiply. So if you can't just do it like the way I had over there in your head, then you can kind of do the cross multiplying, which is probably if I was going to be taking the AP exam, that's probably how I would have done it. And then I'm going to take that 100,000 and I'm going to multiply that by my okay. So 10 million, 20% of that's going to be actually not. I'm trying to like copy it from the key. So I, oh geez. Okay, this should be 2 million. Here, I'll cross this off like this. I'm not really good at math, like on the fly, so I'm trying to copy it from the thing, so I don't like screw it up and give you guys the wrong answers on here. So this should be like 2 million or 2,000,000,000. So once you've got that, then you can do, they did it all in one step, which I guess you could. Like I said, I'm not like super excellent at math, so I like to do it. I like to do it in different steps, basically. Now you're going to get your 100,000. Okay. So you could do it all at once, or you could just do it, you know, separate. But anyway, this would be your work. You wouldn't have to write these things. I just wrote these like impervious surfaces stuff. I just wrote this stuff because we don't have that chart in front of us. So that's why I wrote that stuff. And then, you know, so this this would basically be your work, you know, and then that's what you need to show, and then that would be your answer. Let's go to the next part. Okay. So assume the runoff you calculate in part C is captured by the storm sewers in one day. Calculate the volume of untreated water in a storm. Note the plant still receives 5,000 meters cubed of domestic sewage a day. Okay. So what do we need to do? We're going to take our runoff from impervious surfaces, and we're going to add that. We're going to add the 5,000 to it. Okay, so that's going to be the total amount that we're going to have, that we're kind of working with. And then, let's see. Now it says that it can treat 10,000 a day. Okay, that's what it said in like that little box at the beginning. So we can take this 105,000 and we can minus 10,000 from that. We're still going to have a lot left over, right? This is a lot of rain though. 5 inches in 60 minutes is a lot of rain. So now we've got 95,000 meters cubed. Or meters cubed. Okay. So this is going to be the extra. Okay. Now to show your work, this is all you would need. And like I said, if you didn't know how to do part C or part B, you could just make up an answer for part, you know, because this one's just like adding and subtracting. So you could make up an answer for part C and use that answer here. Now, when you make, oh, the 10 million. Okay. So basically, the 10 million in part C, that little box we had at the beginning, let me get to it. This box right here said that Fremont had an area of 10 kilometers squared. So what I did is I took those 10 kilometers and I converted it to meters. So that's how I got my 10 million. So I did there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer and 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. And so I had to do it twice because it's kilometer times kilometer, and so I have to get rid of kilometers twice. So that gave me 10 million. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. And then I took that, and that little table said the 20%, so that's where I got, that little table said it was 20% impervious. That's where I got that number. And so on the real AP exam, right, you'd have this table on you'd be able to see it the whole time. I just couldn't fit it on every single slide. It didn't leave us much room to do work. So that's why it's there. So for part C, if you didn't know the answer, you could just for part C, you could just make up an answer and then use it on this part. So at least you get the answer, the points for the the adding and subtracting part, right? And this section says, for part D, you get 1 point for the correct answer with the work shown. Okay, so for this one, if you don't show your work, you don't get any points for part D, where the other ones, I guess because the math was a little more complicated, you got 1 point for showing your work and 1 point for the right answer, where in this one, if you have the right answer but you didn't show your work, you don't get any points for part D. So that kind of stinks for that. But remember, part A was just like words, right? We just had to identify things. And then part B, C, and D were all math. But now part E is words again. And so even if you don't know math, you could still do, and you can get 2 points for this section. So worst case, you could still get 4 points, which is pretty good. Even if you don't know how to do any of the math, you could still get 4 points for this one. So now we just need to describe 2 ways that we could reduce the volume of stormwater runoff. So can you think of anything that we could do to reduce stormwater runoff? Yeah. We could use a filtering system, before water gets to the waterways or wherever it needs to go. We could have like less impervious surfaces, right? Or more. If you think about like some places have like we make these new parking lots that aren't all concrete or asphalt. They actually have like they're made of like it's not just like a gravel parking lot, but it's made of like it's got um, kind of like some concrete, but then it's got gravel in between it to kind of allow it to filter a little better. Um, you could have wetlands, which are also kind of, wetlands are also a filtering system, right? That's basically what they are. They're a type of filtering system. You could have things like rain barrels, so you just would have to have 2 of these, and that would be, that would be things that you needed. And then you get those points for part E. And then now we have F. Whew. And for part F, you can get 1 point. So what is an environmental problem that results from having lots of paved areas? If you can think of any. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. If you've got too many paved areas, what are some problems you can have? You can have like, it says other than pollution from runoff. They actually say that you can get flooding from runoff is okay. It kind of seems like still runoff, but they actually allow that one. You could talk about like habitat destruction. Anytime we're talking about like stuff that humans make, habitat destruction is a good choice because we tend to destroy habitats somehow. Sometimes they mentioned fragmentation from roads and things like that. Like if you have a habitat and then like you put like a shopping center or a road through it, you've kind of broken up that habitat, which is a problem for like animals that need like large habitats, have like a large range. One of the ones they say is like erosion from that flooding. It's not going to want to, it doesn't want to fit. I'll put it over here. And there's a couple others that they mentioned, but we'll just stick with those. So you could just mention just one of these, and that would be your point for that. So that would be 5 points, actually. So you could get 5 points on this FRQ, even if you don't know how to do any of the math. So that's pretty good. So that's kind of what I wanted to say, is that you could do with a math FRQ, you can still get points even if you don't know how to do the math. So that's kind of handy.